Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And I have a wonderful guest today. Maurice Cotterell is here today from Ireland, and we're going to talk about all different subjects today. So that'll be really fun for everybody to watch and see what he has to say, because he's such an interesting fellow. But before I bring Maurice on, two things. One, if you're interested in booking a psychic reading with me, just go to my website, nancyyearout.com. You can hit the book button. I have a calendar. You can pick out your time, your date, and you can book there because people ask me. And so I want to get that out of the way right away at the beginning of the show. Now, what's going on with humanity? Well, I'll tell you what, this whole thing with Israel and the Palestinians has stopped. They're at a ceasefire, but I want to read to you what I came across on the news today. And it is Friday. Today is Friday, the 21st of May. And this says U.S. seeing wave of textbook anti-Semitism amid Israel-Gaza tensions. And I'm just going to read a bit of this, but this is really important that people realize what's going on here. So from New York and California to Illinois and Utah, the recent conflict between Israel and Gaza has generated a disturbing backlash against American Jews who have found themselves the targets of death threats, hate speech, and violent physical attacks. Stop telling me that this is about Israel and Gaza, said a New Yorker who was confronted by a pro-Palestinian mob on his way to synagogue this week. My people are being targeted across the United States in broad daylight. This is textbook anti-Semitism, and we will continue to live in danger until the public starts to recognize it for what it is. And it goes on to talk about different unrusts that have happened across the United States. This isn't just in New York. New Jersey, California. It's in California, it says in Los Angeles, Palestinian demonstrations hopped out of their vehicles, passing a Beverly Grove restaurant on Tuesday and began singling out and attacking Jewish diners in a violent brawl that was caught on a bystander's camera. Video shows members of a car caravan flying Palestinian flags while driving past the sushi restaurant outdoor dining section while reportedly chanting death to Jews. Now, I just want to bring this up, and Maurice, I don't know if you want to say anything about it, but wow, this is crazy, huh?
It certainly is. And it seems to me that all this is happening when Netanyahu is struggling for political survival. So I've got my own views on what's actually going on. And clearly it's...
What are your views on what's really going on?
Well, I think Israel's dropping bombs on themselves, blaming the Palestinians, giving them an excuse to so ostensibly retaliate, but just to destroy the nation. And the things they get away with is absolutely remarkable. It's very sad.
What's the reasoning, Maurice, for them wanting to destroy Israel? I don't understand. I'm a little confused on that one. Help me.
No, they're not trying to destroy Israel. I'm saying the Israelis are trying to destroy the Palestinians.
Well, I know that because of the land, but this has gone on for thousands of years.
Yes, and I think it will carry on ad infinitum. I mean, the 1947 settlement by the UN divided Israel up between the Israelis and the Palestinians.
Right.
And the Israelis have taken almost all of what the Palestinians had in the first place. So until the UN gets some control of the situation and imposes sanctions on Israel, I think it's going to go on forever and ever. There will be no end to it.
Yeah, it's just a bad thing. Well, the part that I don't like is that they're bringing it over into the United States and they're condemning people who are here in the United States who are Jewish. And that's crazy. You know, we're all souls in these bodies. And I just think that's really crazy. Before I bring Maurice on completely, you guys, I want to read his biography because he has a fabulous background. And if you don't know who Maurice Cotterell is, He is an author, an engineer, a scientist. In 1989, while working at Cranfield University as head of electrical and communication engineering, he found a way of calculating the duration of magnetic reversals on the sun. So using this knowledge, he was able to break the secret codes of ancient sun-worshiping civilizations and understood how the sun affects life on Earth. He's written 12 books, including 7 international bestsellers, 3 museum pieces on ancient sun-worshiping civilizations and science and spirituality, and several scientific papers, including how to calculate sunspot cycles. Welcome officially back to High Road to Humanity, Maurice.
Thank you, Nancy. Good to be
Thanks for
here.
coming. Yeah, I don't know. That's crazy. I just hate to see so much unrest. I guess I'm to a point in my life where I look at people differently. I look at people as souls and not as what color or what race or what religion.
And that's the only way to look at people, because that's what people are. That's what every living thing is.
Mhm. So it's hard. You know, what's going on in Ireland? What's happening there with the COVID and all this stuff? I mean, what's happening there?
Not a lot. Things go very slowly in Ireland. We've got COVID like everywhere else. We're on lockdown like everybody else. It doesn't really affect where we are in the countryside because, you know, we're surrounded by sheep and cows.
Yeah.
So not a lot happens. And but it's not been easy. I mean, everybody's suffering from COVID, the impositions of COVID. But hopefully now the vaccinations have got going and they're trying to get herd immunity, whereby everybody is immune to the virus. Let's just hope it works for the variants. There's so many variants, and this is one of the problems with vaccines, is that they have to be redone every year.
Well, and I have my own feelings on that whole thing. I kind of feel like this is money motivated through the pharmaceutical companies. I don't really feel like, I think this is just a flu personally, and I think it's a bad flu. And here in the United States, I don't know if you know this or not, but the CDC came out a few days ago, I think it was a week ago now, and so we could take our mask off if we've been vaccinated. And so it's interesting. So I'll go to the store and half the people have a mask on and half the people don't. It's really quite, and it's a fear thing, honestly. People are afraid to take off their mask, which I hate that. So I wondered if you see any of that there.
I think people are wearing their masks and they're being very careful. I mean, it's a very real disease. No matter which way you look at it, people do appear to be dying from it. As for the actual vaccinations, I think it's up to the individual. One of the problems with the vaccinations, it seems to me, even though there are different types, is that they have this situation called long COVID, which is once you've had the COVID, you get very sick afterwards for a long time. And it seems to me that the symptoms are the same as leaky gut. So I wouldn't advise anybody who's got leaky gut to have the vaccination because it will just make you worse.
Thank you for saying that, because I have the leaky gut. And yeah, actually. And yeah, you know, it's interesting. I've had it. I knew I had it before it got popular. I had it in the very beginning, and my husband brought it home, and then I got it. And it was hard to get over, but I got over it at home with some, you know, I don't know, just immunity, different things I took, you know, to help myself. And I guess I'm in pretty decent shape. But yeah, I'm not really into the whole vaccine thing. I never have. I've never taken the flu vaccine. Have you?
I have. It made me very ill. It's many years ago, and I vowed I wouldn't take another one.
Yeah, see, I don't know, intuitively, I just felt like it wasn't a good thing. You know, I want to talk to you about different things that are going on in the world. There is a great awakening right now happening. You're really into the sun. And I had a lady on the show the other day, and she was talking about how the sun is like our consciousness, or the sun, like the consciousness stems from the sun. She talked about that. She also talked about photons, how the light carries information. What do you know about that?
Well, it could do. We just don't know. I remember when I started out doing sunspot analyses and how the sun affects living creatures on Earth many years ago. I'm going back 30 years now. And I remember I gave a lecture at the Royal Free Hospital in London. And there was who was, I'm just trying to think of his name now. Escapes him for the moment. It has seemed to me at the time that it was possible that the sun's radiation could actually change not only the astrological aspects of our lives and our biorhythmic behavior, but it could be a two-way dynamic interchange with the sun. What do I mean by that? It's difficult to explain. What I mean is the North Pole of the sun spins every 37 days, and the equator spins every 26 days. And that develops the biorhythmic signals that regulate living organisms. It gives us the 14-day biorhythm, the 28-day biorhythm, which regulates fertility in females. And it seemed to me at the time that it could go a bit further than that if we just try to figure out what prayers do, for example. What I was thinking of at the time is, let's say we're at war with a nation, one nation against another nation. And let's say collectively the population of one nation prays to God. And of course, some people think that the sun is God. Many religions believe that the sun is God. So let's say through this process of telekinesis, all of this thought could be praying to the sun and causing the North Pole and the equator to rotate at different speeds. That makes then the sun changes the biorhythm of the side that's winning, changes the biorhythms of the side that's losing, and the losing starts to win because they're the ones who are praying, and turns the tide of the war. So something like that could be going on in a two-way situation, but we can't. That's a conjecture, if you like. It's wishful thinking, if you like. What we can say is we can analyze the science behind what's actually happening and say that, well, okay, the sun's giving off particles, it's showering the earth with particles in the solar wind. Those particles collide with the Earth's magnetosphere. The Earth's magnetosphere changes at ground level, and that changes the behavior of individuals on Earth because it changes the way we think.
Well, yeah,
and so we are.
Yeah, so it makes sense. And we got to go to commercial break because I'm going to do the podcast too today. But, you know, I want to say this really quick. So it does make sense to me as you're speaking, because our vibrations and our energy, as we elevate and as we wake up and as we start to be more aware of our spirituality, that vibration is going to be changed. And so that's what would change the sun, and it could change the way things move, right?
It's all to do with vibration. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Okay.
And
Yes. Give me 1 second. We're doing the podcast today, so I'm going to go to commercial break so we can do that too. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. Before I walk away, I'm holding up one of Maurice's books. This one's Future Science. He has beautiful books. You guys need to check these out. And it's Maurice Cotterell. Okay. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity, and I'm here today with Maurice Cotterell. He's joining me from Ireland. And, you know, Maurice, we were talking about the sun. Okay, so that makes sense to me. Now, I want to know this. I thought about you when I was having this show. I thought, oh, I got to ask Maurice. So do you believe that messages, information travels by light, by photons? Is that right?
well, we have to be careful with the use of the term photon, because it really is a really recent development, the use of the word, because it didn't start until about 1915, 1920 with the quantum mechanics. I'm not keen on photon. Photon really, it separates electromagnetic waves. The way I look at it is electromagnetic waves are analog. They move like this. Whereas a photon is a packet of light, which is digital. So one's digital, one's analog, and you can't mix the two. You have to convert one to the other if you want to get sense out of them. So the actual photon, I don't like photons. I don't like quantum. Anytime anybody says quantum, I run for it. It's because there is a meaning for it. It's all about the energy of an electron. When it absorbs electromagnetic energy, it jumps out from one orbital electron shell in the atom to a higher one, and then once the energy is dissipated, it falls back down to its original orbit in the atom. But the term has come in for a lot of abuse, and so I don't like to use it. I like to stick to analog. I like to stick to electromagnetic waves. And I think certainly, well, not think, I understand that we exchange electromagnetic waves. Every time we have an electrical current, whether it's down a wire or through nerves in the brain, we get leakage of that magnetism from that electrical wave. Generates magnetism. The magnetism radiates around the room and around, we can read each other's thoughts. There's never been a problem when it comes to explaining telepathy in that way.
Okay.
The problem arises when we think of somebody in a different country, and just then the phone rings, and clearly they've picked up what we were thinking. And so you have to say, well, okay, how could they pick it up so many thousands of miles away? There isn't enough power in that electromagnetic signal to carry it that far. And it wasn't until I figured out how gravity works that I began to understand how it actually does work. And it works in a different way. Normally, what's happening now is that, or what happens with radio waves, when Marconi discovered radio waves, he sent out what they call a continuous wave, which is the same height all the way along. And then he modulated that with speech. In other words, when you speak into a microphone, you squash and pull this wave, which is normally straight, you squash and pull it.
Right.
And what happens then is when you impress that onto the radio wave leaves the transmitter, bounces off the sky, bounces off the earth, and skips across the ocean. That's what normally happens in shortwave radio. That's how they propagate. But that takes a lot of energy, a couple of 100 watts, maybe a kilowatt across the Atlantic Ocean. But since I understood how gravity works, I understand now that every two objects, it doesn't matter what you're talking about, whether it's a pencil and a stapler, they've all got gravity waves going between them. The pencil is attracting the stapler is attracting the gravity wave. My computer is attracting me, I am attracting my computer.
Because everything has energy, right? Everything is made of energy, right?
Everything's made of energy, but as well as that, they're all radiating gravity waves, so everything's pulling everything towards each other. However, my computer is heavy, so the gravity of the earth is pulling the computer down, and my gravity is not strong enough to pull the computer towards me. If it were, then everything in the room would come towards me. But the Earth's gravity is stronger, so that can't happen. Now, what's actually happening is the gravity waves that I'm sending out bombard the telephone, which is just here, by the way, my desktop telephone. And then what happens is that those gravity waves travel down the wires to the telephone exchange internationally, and they're radiated worldwide over the telephone network. So even though your telephone isn't ringing, if you're sitting next to your telephone and you're telepathic, then you'll pick up if I'm thinking of you, you'll pick up my telepathy. And you'll think, oh, I've just thought of Maurice. I wonder how he is. The phone will ring, you pick it up and you say, I was just thinking about you.
Right.
And that's how long distance telepathy works.
Okay. Do you think we'll get there? I think we will.
Get where?
To where I can think of you and you can think of me and we can have a conversation.
Oh, yes, it happens all the time. Yeah, that's not a problem. It's just that there's so much noise around us.
Yes.
It distracts us. You see, in
like
the
our
old
phones,
days,
like our phones and stuff. Yeah.
Well, and electromagnetic garbage, smog coming in from radio waves, from gravity waves, from microwaves, from cell phones. We're being bombarded all the time by these signals. And we can't, it's like trying to hear a whisper of a voice in a room full of people at a party. Sometimes you can tune in and see a person, and you can tune in and you can just about lip read and see what they're saying. But it's so faint because there's so many people in the room all talking at the same time. If you got rid of all those people, then you'd hear the person you were trying to tune into much more easily.
I see. Talk to me about portals. And do you have any? I'm sure you do over in Ireland. I have seen a couple portals here in the United States. I've actually went to where one was. Do you have that? Is that talked about?
Well, first of all, we have to define what portal means.
So
because
I'm
it's like quantum, you know,
That's
it's like
right.
one of those words.
Yes, okay. So from what I'm understanding is the galactics come here through their dimension into our dimension, and there's an opening. So whatever you want to call that opening.
Okay, well, etymologically, it appears to derive from porthole. So like a
Okay.
porthole on a ship, you can
Correct?
open the porthole and you can leave one environment, go through the porthole
Yes,
into a different environment.
yes.
Now, it's used in many ways. You're using it in one way about talking about extraterrestrials or whatever, or souls or whatever. And orthodox physicists, they might describe a portal as a wormhole between two universes. You've got a
Okay.
universe here and a universe
Mhm,
there. And to
mhm.
get to the one universe, you may have to go a long way around and come round to it. But if you go through a wormhole, you can
Mhm.
go, it sort of short circuits the two, and it allows you ostensibly to travel faster than light. Of course, you're not traveling faster than light, you're just taking a shortcut. Now, they call that sort of thing a portal into a different universe.
Right.
Also, we have to remember that human beings are said to possess a mind, a heart, a body, and soul. The soul is an electromagnetic energy that drives the other three bodies. Now, this notion of a soul as an individual entity that exists in its own right is supported by the first law of thermodynamics, which says that any energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted from one form of energy to another.
Right.
So the soul is the electromagnetic energy that drives the mind, the heart, and the body.
Mhm.
So the soul is believed to have lived before its present incarnation, and it
Right.
believes it can come back into the physical world. And when it does, it comes through a portal or a gateway back
Okay.
into the physical world to live again as a human being or whatever. Now, it depends who you're listening to. And again, we're coming back to souls and soul migration when we talk about portals.
Okay.
Now, you take Freemasons, for example,
Okay.
they're able to take part in out of body experiences. And that's where the soul leaves the body uh, and enters a spiritual plane. And they can do that at will. And they do it through disciplined meditation over many years. And they're taught to change the vibration of their body so that their body, once the body and it's like a key, once the body and the soul vibrate at the same rate, that they get sucked together and they attract each other, but only if your vibration is correct. Excuse me.
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Oh, yes. And they're also, they do it by imagining.
Yeah, I was
Excuse me.
gonna say, what's the meditation they do?
Well, this is this is excuse me. This is all supposed to be top secret stuff.
I
We're
know.
not supposed to know this.
I
But
know, but we
through
can talk about it, Maurice. We've only got, gosh, several
sure.
thousand people that listen to my show. It's not a ton.
Okay. Well, what they do is they use meditation, and they use also hypnotism, which is not good.
Oh
Okay.
no,
Because
it
this
doesn't.
takes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Now, what they do is they imagine that they're on the cross, Jesus on the cross, nailed to the cross with 3 nails. And they take the nails out of the cross, and they bring them down into the body, and they push all of the soul into what they call the cable tow, TOW, which is a silver thread that comes from the belly button.
Mhm. That's what keeps us here, right?
Well, when the soul is in the body, it's
Yeah.
safe, but you've got to be very disciplined to do this. And the
Mhm.
soul then goes out of the body into the spiritual world when it's at the right frequency. Now, the
Mhm.
right frequency is the hydrogen frequency, which is 1.42 gigabits.
It's a
Or
hydrogen frequency.
yeah. Now that's 1.42 billion times a second. Hydrogen vibrates at 1.42 billion times per second. Now, hydrogen is contained in water, H2O, hydrogen and oxygen, and we are 75% water. So 75% of the atoms in our body are vibrating, or should vibrate, at the God frequency, which is 1.42 gigabits. So if your mind and your heart and your soul are all vibrating together, then you'll be in a state of peace and tranquility. But if you get all out of synchronization, then what happens is the body gets sick because it's not shaking at the right vibration. And if you
Mhm.
like, it's a bit like an opera singer singing a very high note, breaking a glass, because
Mhm.
the frequency is just too high for the glass to maintain its molecular structure.
Right.
So
Hey, we got to go to commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about this. Okay. Hey, you guys, I'm here today with Maurice Cotterell. I've got a couple of his books here. I just want to hold another one of them up. I love his books. They're beautiful, actually. This is The Heavenly Matchmaker. Okay. You can check this out. I'm sure you can. We get these at Amazon? Do they have to order through you? How do we get these?
they have to order them off my website.
Yes. And
Amazon
what's
has
your,
banned it.
yeah,
Amazon
Amazon has
banned it.
banned us. This is crazy, right? Because he's so smart, right? So Amazon thinks they're smarter. What is your website, Maurice?
It's www.mauricecotterell.com.
All right. And it's
Now,
MAU.
you can also, you can get
What?
Future Science off Amazon for about $500, or you can
Right.
buy it off my website for about 50.
Okay. And it's Maurice, and Cotterell is Cotterell. This is Nancy. You're
That's
out.
right.
This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy. You're out. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here with Maurice Cotterell. God, I hated to even go to commercial break there, Maurice, because I'm interested in this. So continue what you were saying. So I understand and the audience understands all of this. When you were
Okay,
talking
so
about the Freemasons and what they do in their meditation and how they do it in order to come. Now, a lot of people, I'll just say this really quick. I'm in New Mexico. I have a lot of people who drum, and I know they drum to go out of their bodies to go to different dimensions. So it's not just the Freemasons that do this. I've heard other, like the Native Americans doing this too. I just want to throw that out there, but continue on, please.
absolutely they do.
Yeah.
And well, basically, once all the Freemason can do it, they go into the spirit world and they can have meetings in the spirit world, or they
Mhm.
can come into your living room and have a look round, so they can see anything that's in there. So if you have documents, you have to turn them upside down on your desk because they can't see them. Okay.
Interesting.
Now they do what
Interesting.
they want to do in the spirit world. Then they come back through the cable tow into the body and they come back down to earth again. And
Okay.
in the Bible, in the book of Ecclesiastes, it says that if ever the silver thread is broken
Mhm.
or the golden bowl, the halo, is
Mhm.
broken, then the soul will go back to where it came and the body will turn to dust. So if they don't come
Oh,
back, so they'll die. If you have an out of body experience and you don't know how to get back, then you'll just die and that'll be the end of you.
so your soul
So
won't continue on.
yes, your soul will be in the spirit world then,
Oh, it will
and then
continue on. Okay.
and
Okay.
then your soul will have to come back in if it's purified and you're at the right vibration, you'll stay in heaven. But if you're not at the perfect vibration, then you'll come back into the physical world through the soul world. And we know this from the Mayas, the amazing letter Palenque, the Bible of the Mayas, which is carved into stone.
Mhm.
They wrote all of this down in pictures and they're in the books for everybody to see. And they explain that this, for example, this is in Future Science here.
Mhm.
I don't know if you can see that, but here we have the physical world. And basically what's going on is from the physical world, when we die, we go to the soul world. This is what the amazing Lid of Palenque tells us. Purified souls then go back to God and they stay with God forever and ever, eternity.
Right.
Semi-purified souls go to the paradises. These are babies who die in childbirth, soldiers, and there's another group as well, escape me for the moment. But
Yeah.
they go through the paradises in the soul world, and the soul is purified, and they go back to God in the God world. Now, impure souls go into the soul world. They go into the underworld, which has 9 levels. The first level of which is a swift flowing river. And to get across the river, they used to hold on to a dog. And this is why they buried effigies of dogs in the Mayan and the Aztec tombs. And
Wow.
the dog helps them. The dog can doggy paddle across the river and carry you across the river. And eventually, what happens is, after you've gone through the 9 levels of the underworld, you come back into the physical world and you reincarnate as another living thing. Could be a human being, or it could be an animal. It depends on what you were doing in the previous world.
So whatever we do
Again,
down here makes a big difference because it depends on what level we get to when we die.
of course it does. all of everything we've ever done will come back to us. And when we're young, for example, we don't know what's right and what's wrong. And
Right.
it's only as we develop wisdom, as we get older, and we can't get wisdom from outside of ourselves. Wisdom is generated internally, and it comes together through a discourse of the mind, the heart, the body, and the soul.
Right.
And the soul is the judge. The soul is the chariot driver. It has to control the other three bodies: the intellectual body, the physical body, and the emotional body. And it's like a court case continually going on in our head. The body desires, but the soul says, no, it's not good for you. Don't do it.
Right.
And so
And the head
again,
says, do it anyway.
yeah. But if you do it, you suffer. And if you
Right.
suffer, that purifies the heart, and the heart vibrates at a higher frequency. Now, as soon as your vibration goes out, and vibrations are a fascinating area,
I
and there's a
know.
couple of, I just digress before we carry on that particular thing. It's interesting because you can do this yourself. Tape record a program on the television, the news program, just a man or a woman, and have the pause button on your remote control.
Okay.
And as she's reading the news, press the button. And for 1 minute, she'll be like this. And you'll say, wow, she's beautiful. Start it again, press the button again, and a fraction of a second later, she'll look like this. Try it. Just keep on pressing the button. 1 minute she's beautiful, next minute she's ugly. 1 minute she's beautiful, next minute she's ugly. And it's because you're only seeing the vibration that's in your vibration. Somebody else, your girlfriend, will say, well, I don't fancy him. Do you remember going to a dance and there was two of you? And you say, I fancy him. He's really handsome. And she says, you can keep him. I want his friend. Because
you're at a different vibration.
You're on a different vibration. Now, there's no question about this, because two people took photographs of me in my life.
Okay.
They were nothing like me. I said to my friend, I said, there's nothing like me. And yet it was me, because I recognized clothes, but I look really ugly. Right? And then it happened again a few years later. And then a friend came over from Australia, and he said, this camera's fantastic. I said, John, those pictures are great. I said, leave some pictures for me, send me some pictures when you get home. They're great. All the pictures you've taken are wonderful. Now, of course, he's my friend. He loves me.
He's at your vibration though.
He's at my vibration. See, he was Scorpio and I'm a water sign. Okay.
I love it.
Now, later on, I found out the two people who took the photographs where I was ugly were Freemasons.
Oh.
One of them was the photographer at my wedding. And all the pictures were awful because his vibration, the camera is vibrating at a different time to what I am. So there's no question about it. We're talking about vibrations. What are they? How do we control them? Who's got them? Who hasn't got them? Can we purify the soul to get into the soul world? And once you understand what's actually going on, then you realize that when you feel guilty, it's like if you're dancing with somebody, doing ballroom dancing, and you're holding on to each other. You put your leg forward and she puts her leg back. I put my leg back, she puts her leg forward, because we're in synchronization with each other. We're in the same vibration.
Right.
If I go forward and she goes forward, she kicks me and it hurts. I feel my leg, which I wasn't feeling before. And as Buddha says, the foot feels the foot when the foot feels the floor. You feel yourself. Okay.
Nice.
Now, the same thing happens with when you're in the wrong vibration as your soul, God, which is inside you, and you've done something wrong. You feel God, you feel guilty because God is kicking you. Normally, you shouldn't feel God. And the same goes for sickness. Your body's fighting, your body's sick because it's not in the right vibration with God, or you're guilty because you're not in the same vibration
with God. Yeah.
And every time you touch something in your room or wherever you are, it assumes your vibration. I've had readings where the clairvoyant holds onto my watch and tells me, does a reading, and so it's ringing. It's like a bell. It's continuing to ring. The vibrations there after you take it off.
Right.
So everything in my room is at my vibration, my
Right.
frequency, and my phase.
I want to
You
ask
know,
you something. I'm going to stop you a second. I want to go back to the Freemasons a second. Because you talked about this on another show, but I want to understand, you said the photographer at your wedding was a Freemason. So I just want to get this thought out. So because he is, and because they do this meditation where they go out of their bodies, and they really shouldn't be doing that, that's why his vibration was different, or is it just you were closer to God and that's why your vibration and his didn't match?
interesting question. I estimate 10% of the population are male Freemasons. What that means in America is 30 million. However, of the 10%, 9% are not real Freemasons. They think they are. They are the worker bees. They collect the honey. Only
Okay.
1% of them, 1% of the total population, have out-of-body experiences, the 33-degree levels.
Right.
Once you've reached the 33rd degree of Freemason, that's the highest degree you can get.
Right.
Then that's when you are, you understand what the mind, the body, and the soul is capable of.
My father was a Freemason.
Everybody I meet is a Freemason.
It was
But are
crazy.
they
Yeah, he
real
has the
ones,
ring, the
or are they
Masonic
worker
ring,
bees?
and yeah, it's crazy. The whole bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's not
Well,
with us,
they
but I
control
mean,
the
yeah.
planet.
Right, right.
They
So
control the planet.
they control the planet. So back to my question. What was it? Was it the guy's vibration wasn't as high as yours because you're connected to to God, or is his low because he's doing something he shouldn't be?
But I think it's probably the latter.
Got it. Okay.
I'm not going to
Thank you.
say too much.
Thank you. Well, no, I just need to understand. I mean, because, why didn't the pictures come out? Why was his vibration so off, and what did
Yeah.
that have to do with it? That's what makes me
You see,
wonder.
if you look at the pictures in Future Science,
Right?
if you look at the sun shield of Monte Olban,
Okay.
and I've got a copy here.
Okay.
Just let me see if I can grab a couple of pictures.
And this is what he's talking
Yeah.
about, you guys. This is the book, Future Science. And it's
Okay, so
beautiful, by the way, Maurice.
now I just want to show people that I haven't made this up. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up.
Right?
No question about that.
My favorite
Okay.
guest, Maurice. You always tell us such interesting stuff. I love it.
These are a
Okay.
couple of. This is the sun shield of Monte Olban, where this gold and turquoise
Right.
brooch was found, and it's about that big.
Okay.
And when you decode it, put one on top of the other, it's got a picture of Jesus with a cross on his forehead, and Jesus tells us that he's a Freemason. If you have a look at the pictures, now clearly Jesus. It's no question. It's not just this picture. There's picture after picture after picture of how Jesus was Freemason. Now, the reason he put all this information into his treasures was that he knows there's a right way of Freemasonry and a wrong way.
Okay.
And it went wrong in about 1650, just after the Reformation began.
When we come back from commercial break, I want you to tell us. Okay.
Okay.
All right. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here with Maurice Cotterell, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here with Maurice Cotterell. We're talking about The Heavenly Matchmaker, his book. You were talking about Jesus and the Freemasons. Continue on, Maurice. This is really interesting.
Yeah, I did say that after the Reformation began in 1635, it started in 1535, ended in 1635. So it was at that time that William Tyndale in 1536 translated the Bible from the original Hebrew and the Greek into English. Yeah. And William Tyndale is on the front of The Heavenly Matchmaker. This is actually a picture of William Tyndale. This is on a stained glass window in Hengrave Hall in Suffolk in England. Okay. Now, King Henry VIII sent out secret agents to get Tyndale because he didn't want the Bible translated into English. Mm-hmm. So he sent out secret agents to Belgium, where he'd fled to get away from England because his life was threatened. And King Henry gave the order to burn him alive. So he was burnt alive in 1538.
Wow.
And what I've discovered is that William Tyndale was just another reincarnation of Jesus. Jesus came back to translate his own book, the Bible, into English so it would spread around the world. So it's a fascinating story.
It is fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with the Freemasons, Jesus was a Freemason, but a good one. And Freemasonry is good.
Okay.
It must be good. Originally, they built the pyramids. They had access to technologies beyond our comprehension. They could lift very heavy stones, 100 tons each. They could do all kinds of things.
Right.
And they built the cathedrals in the Middle Ages, the beautiful stained glass windows and the architecture, the stone monuments. And there's no question about it. Freemasonry is a wonderful thing on the face of it.
What
But
happened?
in about 1635, there was a schism just after the Reformation. There was a schism in Freemasonry, and the good ones carried on as they were, like the Rosicrucians or the Rosy Cross, those who understood that Jesus died on the cross with his crown of thorns. They call them Rosicrucians because of the rose and the cross.
Okay.
They understood that the most wonderful thing was to get your vibration correct and get to heaven. The other bunch, the not so good bunch, they realized that it's too difficult going to heaven. Why don't we just have heaven on earth? Now we know how it works. We can go up and down whenever we choose. Why don't we have all of the money? We know about reincarnation. So when we die, we can leave all of our money to our kids. And because the soul comes back to the same DNA, we'll get all our money back the next time we go around. It's like Monopoly. Every time you pass go, you collect $200 or whatever.
And that's why certain people rule the world.
Of course it is. And this is why Freemasons never retire. They keep on accumulating money, more and more and more and more, because they know when they come back, they'll get it again.
When does it end? When does it end, Maurice?
Well, it doesn't. They've created heaven on earth for themselves, so they don't need to go to heaven. Only we are the slaves now, and they are the masters. Now, as I said, this is the bad side of Freemasonry, not the good side. The good side, there are still some good ones, and their aim is to get to heaven, and they worship Jesus. And in religion, in fact, when you sign up to Freemasonry, they groom the people. They will only let you in if you're of a religious orientation. Doesn't have to be any particular religion, but it's usually Christianity. But it is Judaism, and it is other religions as well. And what they do is, when they start you off as an apprentice Freemason, they teach you about the Bible. They introduce you to the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, which is only 7 pages long. I mean, it doesn't take too long to read it, but it's full of wisdom. It was written by King Solomon, who was the son of David. And he was, they built Solomon's temple. And this is why Freemasons revere Solomon's temple and the Holy of Holies, which was said to be a cube or a square. And this is why Freemasons refer to themselves as being on the square, because they're supposed to treat each other fairly and squarely. Okay. So, and they have all sorts of signs, secret signs. They'll stand on the floor with their feet 90 degrees apart like that. And if they go to court, so the judge knows they're a Freemason. So because the judge is a Freemason, all judges are Freemasons. Almost all lawyers are Freemasons, bank managers for Freemasons. The heads of every organization is a Freemason. And they have, if you look at Joe Biden, he has a pocket handkerchief with 3 squares on it. Have you noticed? He always has it there. Yeah, you have one next time. Those are the 3 pyramids of Egypt. You see? And so he's telling everybody he's a Freemason. Or they'll have a Freemason tie on, not quite as fancy as this one, but they'll have squares on it or different logos, to tell everybody they're Freemason. Now, you don't know it, but Freemasons know it. Then they've got the dodgy handshake. And they're doing deals with each other all the time. They run everything. They run the planning permission departments at the local councils, at the civic, in the cities, the city centres. So they won't give planning permission except to Freemasons.
Well,
So Freemasons.
I'm just curious about this. People are waking up and they're starting to pay attention. And don't you think people are going to start to realize and rebel against this? And I know that you're saying the way it works is in reincarnation, they just keep coming back and keep coming back. But there's a lot of us that are just going to God. So it's almost like the good and the evil. And I feel like that's the evil. So and you say there's no end, but there has to be an end to this. Oh.
Not necessarily. Was there a beginning? I've mentioned
Oh,
it's like two computers talking to each other saying, who made me? Where did we come from? And we're like two people are like two computers. I can say
yeah.
to you, where do you think we came from? And you can ask me the same question. But we can't actually know where the universe began, or if it ever did begin. If you look at the Bhagavad Gita, that book, which is only
Right.
81 pages long, that's the
Right.
holy book of the Hindu, that says that the universe was always here and always will be, and it will never change. So, and it's difficult for us to get our heads around that because
Yeah.
we're very primitive people, and we've been brought up. You see, people. You see, a real Freemason wouldn't have children because they know the soul comes back to the same DNA. This is why priests are celibate. This is why nuns are virgins. So the soul can't come back if you don't leave any DNA behind. So you must go to heaven. So you can tell a real Freemason.
Interesting. I never thought of it like that.
You can tell a real Freemason from a bad one because the bad ones don't know any of this, you see. And this is why Freemasonry is secret. It's not to keep it secret from you and me or, Joe Donut. It's to keep it secret from the lower Freemasons who are still having kids, who they sell their soul, if you like, for money. They've got all the money. I've got relatives who are Freemasons, and I remember one day my uncle took me to the local golf club, and they all play golf.
Right.
Okay, and I didn't know why they all play golf, but I remarked on all the cars. I said, "Gee," I said, "you got a lot of cars up here in the north of England, Jaguars, BMWs, Mercedes." I said, "You'd never get this in the southwest of England." I said, "There must still be a lot of money up here." And he didn't think anything of it. Well, of course, all the Freemasons play golf. Okay, and he was a Freemason. And they've all got fast cars. They've all got expensive. They all get their money for nothing and their women for nothing. That's the way it is. And the reason they play golf is because there's an allegory, and it's in this one's in the Tutankhamun Prophecies, my book, which was
I don't have that one.
No, this was about 1997.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it tells the allegory of Freemasons, whereby the architect of King Solomon's temple, Hiram Abiff, or Hiram, he was an architect. He knew the secrets of how to become a master mason, which is you've got the apprentice master, you've got the apprentice, you've got the craft mason, and you've got the master mason. Those are the first 3 degrees. And he held a secret to it because he built the Temple of Solomon, and he encoded all of the secrets into the temple, the architecture of the temple. And 3 lesser ranking Freemasons, apprentices and craft masons, wanted the key so that they could jump up and become master masons, but he wouldn't give them to them. So there are several gates in Jerusalem, and several gates to the temple of Solomon.
Yeah.
And so what they said was, one of them got a builder's set square, and they held it to his throat and said, tell us the secret of becoming a master mason. And he wouldn't. So anyway, he got away from him, and he escaped and tried to get out the other door. And the second mason, had a builder's measuring gauge for measuring stuff. And he grabbed him around the neck and he says, tell us a secret. And he said, no, I can't tell you. And he escaped from him. And he went to the third one. And the third guy, I forget what it was, had a hammer and chisel or something. And he said, no, I can't tell you. Anyway, the one with the hammer and chisel killed him.
Wow.
Anyway, so Hiram was dead. And then a master mason appeared, and he had the strong grip of a lion's paw. And using the strong grip of a lion's paw, he brought Hiram back to life again. And he found his grave because it was marked with the evergreen leaves of an acacia tree. And they use the acacia leaves as a symbol of Freemasonry. If you look on the policeman's helmet, it's got leaves on the cap. That's acacia leaves. It means everlasting life. because they're going to have everlasting life. So every time you see somebody in uniform, they've got these leaves on their
Yeah.
hat.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. And so if you wish to bring somebody back to life, you need the strong grip of a lion's paw. Now, my step grandfather, who was a Mason, used to sit in his chair in the living room squeezing a tennis ball.
Right.
And I asked him one day, why do you sit there squeezing a tennis ball? And he says it helps me to get a good grip when I play golf.
Oh,
Okay. So all
okay.
Masons play golf because they need the strong grip of a lion's paw to resurrect the dead, like Hiram was brought back from the dead. So they need that to become a master Mason. So that's where it comes from.
Interesting.
Also, you'll find Freemasons wear cuff links.
Yes.
They're very old fashioned. The only people
Yes.
who wear them now are Freemasons. And
Yes.
they always have them outside their jacket, the sleeve ends, and you'll see them standing like that. And they'll have the sun on it or a square.
Yeah.
Because cufflinks, golf links, it's the same. They're telling you they play golf. And if you play golf, then you must be a Freemason. So these are certain requirements to being a lot of tradition built into it, you know.
But Maurice, we got to get out of here in a few minutes. But so there are still good Freemasons who are doing the right thing. That now, do they go out of their bodies as well? But they have meetings that are for the positive and the good?
Absolutely. But those are only 1% of the population. And don't
Right.
forget, Freemasons make up 10%. So 9% are worker bees. They regard the Freemasons Lodge as a hive for bees. The Grand Master of the Lodge is the queen bee, and all of the others are worker bees. And if you look at Tutankhamun on his mask, he's got the stripes of a bee, and on his back, he's got the sting of a bee on his golden mask.
Because he's a worker bee.
No, he's
He's
hang on a second, that's a good point. He's a worker bee, yes. He's not the queen bee, which raises a question. Why has he got the worker bee on
Yeah.
when he's the queen,
Yeah.
the king?
Right.
And I actually wrote you a paper on that, and I sent it to you.
Okay.
About,
Oh gosh, Maurice.
he was trying to tell us that anybody can be Jesus. That's what the Tutankhamun's masks tells us. It's a rather convoluted way, but once we get into the hive and the queen bee, the drone bee, the worker bee, and how the hive operates, then what it tells us is that any worker like Tutankhamun can become a king or a queen.
Will you send that again? I'd like to have that again, and I'll have to put it. Am I allowed to put a link on for, like, if you send it to me, can I give it to the audience? Is that
Sure,
cool?
yeah. I've
Oh,
got
I'd
it
love to
filed
have it.
somewhere.
That would be
Sure.
awesome. Hey, we got to get out of here for today. You know, I have to tell you, I don't know. In one way, it's disheartening to hear what you're saying to me. But on the other hand, I mean, we all have a choice. We can either go to God, which is the way to go, and, you know, live an eternal life, or we can keep playing this game going over and over and over. And it's just a vicious circle. That's what it seems like to me. I mean, what's your
Oh,
thought on that?
well, there are endless cycles of reincarnation. And to break out of the endless cycle of reincarnation, you've got to suffer. You've got to purify your heart and purify your soul, become the correct vibration. And then when your soul leaves your body, it won't come back again. You'll become one with God again because you're the same frequency and phase and vibration as God.
Yeah, wonderful. Maurice,
But
thank you.
don't forget, we're living in hell. This is
I
hell.
know. You always tell me that. We're living in hell. Before we get out of here, address that really quick. Tell people what you mean when you say we're living in hell.
Well, we are. Everything around us is hell. I mean, I've proven it scientifically in all of my books, but again, as you held up before, in Future Science and the Heavenly Matchmaker, it explains the science behind it, how we got to be in hell. Everything, we live in an inside out, upside down, back to front world of wonder, and everything's bad. What's bad is good, and what's good is bad. And this is why whenever a good soul comes into the world, like Jesus, everybody kills him or burns him at the stake because he shouldn't be in hell. So, of course, everybody wants to kill him. Now, If you take, I remember many years ago, we had a plague of magpies in a previous house. And
Okay.
a friend of mine built a cage, and he put a stranger magpie from where he lived, about 10 miles away, into one side of the cage. And all of the magpies around tried to get into the cage to kill the magpie, the stranger.
Oh my gosh.
And so this cage, it's about this big,
Yes.
it had a trapdoor at the top, and you pull the trapdoor down, and he had a broom handle holding the door open when it was down, like that.
Uh-huh.
And the broom handle was cut in the middle, but he carefully put them together and pull down the trapdoor, put the broom handle in there. Then when the magpie landed on this, it broke into two. The magpie fell down, and the door flew up, and you caught the magpie. Okay, now his answer was, what do you do with a magpie? He told me he took it to the magpie sanctuary, and that's all I wanted to know. Now, what we learn from this is that whenever a stranger comes into town, every stranger's filled with God, whether we like it or not. Every magpie is filled with God. It's a natural law of the universe that all of the other people will try to kill him. And this is why we all speak with different accents, like a Texan or a New Yorker or somebody from Boston. You know, they've got a southern drawl.
You stay with your group. You stay with your group is what you're telling me.
You know an outsider. I mean, you might see a Peruvian walking down the street in Peruvian clothes and a Peruvian hat. You know that's an outsider. So you're a bit wary of the outsider because you don't know this outsider. So you're wary. What if he looks like you, the outsider? Well, you still figure him out if you can listen to his accent. Is he from local or is he from far away? If he's a Texan, he might be bad news. He's a stranger. And these are all mechanisms of hell. All of these mechanisms, it's all designed. You know, every country has a different language. The French speak their own language. The Germans speak their language.
So if we can make it through this, it's a big deal because we've really accomplished a lot if we can get out of hell.
If you can get out of hell, you've accomplished miracles. Yes. And this is why every nationality speaks a different language. We're always misunderstanding each other. We're always killing each other. And this is hell. It's all about when we kill each other, then the souls come back. This is what the Bhagavad Gita tells us. You don't have to worry about if a soldier kills somebody, he goes to heaven. Now, this is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Just because you kill somebody doesn't mean you don't go to heaven. He's doing his duty. It's a duty of a soldier to kill people. It's a duty of the baker to bake a loaf. It's a duty of the ice cream salesman to sell an ice cream. It's a duty of the teacher to teach. As long as we all do our duty, we'll go to heaven, whatever that is. Now, if that soldier's walking down Park Lane and he strangles somebody because he doesn't like him, then he'll go to hell because it's the intent. It's different. He's not killing because it's his duty. He's doing it because he's full of hate, and that's different. If you hate, you'll come back to hell, which is here.
Maurice, will you come back and see me again?
Not if I can help it. Not in hell.
I don't know what to say. Maurice, you're awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. I know you're busy, and I know you know it's a lot for you to come on. And thank you. It's a big deal. Yeah, you teach us so much, and I appreciate it. Okay.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. Hey, you guys. This is High Road to Humanity. This is Nancy Yearout. You got to pick up Maurice's book. This is one of them, The Heavenly Matchmaker. He's had so many different books out, you guys. Future Science. This is High Road to Humanity. Hey, we will see you next time. Maurice, thanks again.
Thanks again, Nancy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the higher road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week, and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.